Hey guys, welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Miller if you like. So let's get into it. So the Cowboys have finalized their practice squad. It looks like this. It's Nick Vigil, Dakota Shipley, Brock Mogensen, Carl Lawson, Amani Johnson, Darius Harris, Kelvin Harmon, Keeman Hall, Denzel Daxon, Malik Davis, Josh Butler, Phil Hoskins, Amani Awarrier, Princeton Fant, Josh Ball, Jalen Cropper, and Dalvin Cook. So I'm going to hit the most high profile name on that practice squad first. It's Dalvin Cook. I feel like the Cowboys brought him in to kick the tires on him a little bit. Dalvin Cook, he didn't do much for the Jets last year. He did a little bit, like a smidge more for the Baltimore Ravens. But I think the Cowboys are more looking at this as we'll take a flyer on the veteran, get him into practice, get him some reps, get him up to speed, get him to learn the playbook. Get him some time here and take a look and see what he has. It doesn't really hurt much. It is only a practice squad spot, so it's not like they cut somebody that they actually cared about or gave them a roster spot over somebody that they thought they might be able to really use. So no harm, no foul, just a practice squad spot, whatever. Carl Lawson, nice to see him here. I know a few episodes ago I talked about him possibly being a starting defensive end eventually and kind of taking some of that pressure off the rookie second round pick Marshawn Nealon. I do think that's still true. I do think Carl Lawson will take a little while to ramp up. It looks like he wasn't necessarily ready right away, even though in that Raiders game, he did flash a bit. He had some nice pass rushes in that game. He looked pretty good, but the Cowboys probably thought he wasn't really ready. He is a vested veteran. So when they cut him, they knew they could sign him back to the practice squad pretty much immediately. He wasn't subject to a waiver claim or anything like that, and he was already on the street to begin with. So if somebody really had the interest to sign him, they could have done it a long time ago. So I think the Cowboys thought, hey, we'll cut him. We'll get the guys we really want in the roster. We'll bring him back in the practice squad. Let him ramp up for a few weeks. Let him get his training camp and NFL legs up under him, and then we'll bring him up and see what he can do. So I still have decent hopes for Carl Lawson. I still do think he'll probably be your starting right defensive end at some point. Not necessarily over Micah Parsons, but I'm thinking about in your base set when Micah Parsons is lined up at linebacker and, Carl Lawson and DeMarcus Lawrence will be your defensive ends. I still think that's eventually the plan here for the Dallas Cowboys. So next, Malik Davis. They kept him at running back on the practice squad. I would have liked to see one of the younger guys here, maybe Nathaniel Pete, maybe Snoop Connor. Let those guys work in there and see what they can do. Now, Malik Davis, I do think the Cowboys do remember that when Tony Pollard went down with the ankle injury in the playoffs, break out the TP, baby. But when he went down with the ankle injury in the playoffs, Malik Davis came in and gave you some nice reps as a change of pace back. He was fresh. He hit the hole hard. He looked good running the football, but ever since then, everything's been sort of flat. But I think they're still trying to give him a chance. But like I said, I would rather see one of the younger guys here instead of Malik Davis, but this is what the Cowboys decided to do. Jalen Cropper made the practice squad. When it came down to Jalen Cropper, he actually separated himself a little bit early on in training camp. He looked like he was clearly going to be that number 6 receiver, but then Ryan Flournoy came in, and Flournoy just he excelled. He was making plays, he was catching touchdowns. He was running great routes. He's got that spark. So the spark is like a test that they use to measure size, speed, athleticism. And the Cowboys every once in a while take a chance on some of these guys that are like high spark players, but that might not necessarily get drafted. And Flournoy fits that. He's a 6'3", nearly 200-pound receiver that can fly. He runs into 4.3s. He's a tough person to bring down in the open field. So it made sense to keep him on the active roster and kind of, put a receiver like Jalen Cropper onto the practice squad and see what he can do, over the course of the season practicing. Also, Princeton Fant, that's like pretty much your Hunter Lipke, starter kit. Princeton Fant when Hunter Lipke was out, in practice, and I'm not saying out as far as hurt. I'm saying taking rest, as far as reps. Princeton Fant was the guy that they were lining up in the backfield, doing some of that fullback stuff, squaring up on people in the hole, hitting them hard, opening up lanes for the running back. So it looks like they kind of want to see a little bit more of what he can do there. Keeman Hall definitely earned a practice squad spot because that dude was making plays in the preseason at cornerback. He dealt with a little bit of an injury when it came down to the close of the preseason, so he didn't really get to play against the Raiders, which is why bringing him back in the practice squad, smart thing. Nick Vigil, he is a veteran linebacker, so Nick Vigil is actually also a special teams guy too. So if one of the linebackers go down, one of the linebackers go down and you need to bring up a guy for depth, Nick Vigil would be like the perfect guy for one of those three elevations that you get on the practice squad. Brock Mogensen, from what I understand, he's one of those linebackers that they liked immediately when they brought in. So they want to sit him on the practice squad, get him some development. He might be a guy in year 2 or year 3 that you're looking at a little bit more as getting more playing time. But the Cowboys want to kick the tires on that guy. Josh Ball had a better training camp than the other dude who made tackle. Waletzko has a very high ceiling. He's a big dude. You know what I'm saying? He's athletic. He's strong. So I understand why they kept Waletzko. His injury history gave me a little bit of pause, but it doesn't mean I don't understand why they did what they did. But bringing back someone like Josh Ball on the practice squad kind of helps out. Some of the other guys here, I think it's just more developmental. Eric Scott was claimed by the Chiefs. Julius Wood was claimed by the Titans. They'll probably both get a better chance to play over there. Justin Rogers decided not to sign with the Cowboys, which is interesting. The Cowboys spent a draft pick on him this year, and I know they traded for Phillips, and I know they signed Linval Joseph, and I know they have Mozzie Smith, and I know they have Osa Odighizuwa, but Justin Rogers probably had a path to playing time here, and it was interesting to see that even though the Cowboys drafted him, he still decided, hey, I'm going to head to another team and see what happens. I don't know if he's going to get a bigger chance with the Cincinnati Bengals, but we'll see what happens there. But all in all, that's the Cowboys practice squad. Some of the things I also heard a little bit today from the Mike McCarthy press conference, it looks like CeeDee Lamb is putting about 10 to 15 pounds of lean muscle, which is nice. I mean, if you followed CeeDee Lamb since he came into the league, he was very wiry when he first started, but he's kind of been constantly putting on muscle over the years, culminating in last year. I thought homie looked like a beast. You know what I'm saying? He's actually gotten, a little bit bigger in his time. Not, to the detriment of his speed and not to the detriment of his shiftiness, but you could see that he's trying to make sure that whenever he gets a chance to, get into the open field, that he's going to be a little bit harder to bring down. That was one of the things in his college tape that made him such a highly touted prospect. And it looks like he's just trying to be a little bit better about that in the NFL. So, and as far as Cowboys practice and things, it looks like they're getting more into Cleveland Browns game planning and game tape. So now is the time where, during training camp, we got to see all the videos, we got to see all the live practices, we got to see a lot as far as competition and what's going down. But now over the next few weeks, it's going to become Fort Knox. We're not going to get to see what these guys are doing in practice. We're not going to get to see what kind of things they're game planning for going into the Cleveland Browns. So it's going to be a little bit more tight-lipped, a little bit more close-kept. But, with that being said, we'll get to see the results of the games, and we'll get to break that down, and from that we'll be able to infer the types of things that they were working on in practice. So now we're starting to get into the point where, hey, we're looking at Myles Garrett, and we're looking to see what's going on, or we're looking to see Deshaun Watson and how we can fool him. We're looking to see Amari Cooper and how we can lock him up on the outside. So we're queuing in on some of the finer details of the game and kind of getting ready, for that week 1. So this is exciting, as the days come in and as we get to next week, we'll start to talk a little bit more about what the Cleveland Browns defense might do against the Cowboys offense and vice versa, or what the Cleveland Browns offense might try to do against the Cowboys defense and vice versa. Where some of the weaknesses are, where the Cowboys can attack, where are our weaknesses, and where do we feel the Cleveland Browns will attack. I'll get into all those things as we start to move forward, and then as we go into the season, that'll kind of be the play that we'll do week after week after week. We'll take a look at the breakdown of the games that they played and kind of where they did well, where they didn't, where we can improve, where we're in trouble, and we'll start to take that and carry that in week to week and hopefully get a look at a pretty good Cowboys team. I know before the season started, before they even had a training camp practice, I had them at 9-8. I still kind of feel good about that prediction. Maybe I can give you 10-7, or if we are less optimistic, maybe I can give you an 8-9. But those types of things will come down to bounces of the ball, turnover battles, if we have a rushing attack, all those different things. But thank you for tuning in. This is Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, J Mill. J Miller, if you like. If you like the video, hit the like button below. Subscribe so you know when I'm going to come on. I'm saying? If there's anything specific that you want me to cover, put it in the comments below. You can also hit me up on social media at X/Twitter at J Miller IYL. That's J Miller if you like. You can also submit questions via email at knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. Again, that's knockersonthebottom@outlook.com. I'll take your questions below. I'll take them on Twitter. I'll take them via email. Whatever way you have it, hopefully we can, put it together in a sort of mailbag format and make it a regular thing. And just hit me up. I love you guys. Again, J Miller if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Until next time, peace.